What was supposed to be a night of celebration turned into disaster after 4 friends who were all drunk left the bar in the city without a designated driver. Designate a driver. Don't drink and drive.
This is your news source evening bulletin for today, Friday, the 21st day of February in the year 2025. I'm Gordon Mosley reporting, and here's what we're tracking tonight. The Opposition People's National Congress reform today called for an investigation into the distribution of the $100,000 cash grant amid a spate of controversies and for the removal of certain criteria that it says only serves to humiliate citizens and gather data for the governing PPP ahead of the upcoming elections. The distribution of the $100,000 cash grant to Guyanese 18 years and older has been marred by chaotic scenes at some distribution sites and allegations of corruption, with at least 2 persons publicly alleging that their checks were issued to other persons. Other reports suggest that some individuals have been issued the one-off cash grant twice. General Secretary of the People's National Congress Reform, Sherwin Benjamin, today told reporters at a press conference that the allegations warrant a full investigation.
Permit me to hear and now call for a complete investigation into the entire arrangement of the cash grant.
An executive member of the party and opposition member of Parliament, Ganesh Mahipal, said while the opposition is not opposed to the distribution of the cash grant, it believes a better system should have been put in place for the disbursement of the funds. He said the process raises serious questions about transparency.
How can you have a process where you're taking the people's photograph, you are pulling up all their information via their ID card? When it comes to distributing, now you have to make reference to those very things, but you have situations and cases where checks belonging to others are collected by someone else. It begs the question as to whether there is really transparency and accountability in the system of this cash grant distribution.
On Thursday, Vice President Barajagdio said the Ministry of Finance has been instructed to simplify the distribution process. He explained that some persons whose checks have not yet been processed or printed have been showing up at the distribution sites, resulting in some confusion. He said the system must be simplified. But opposition member of Parliament Coretta MacDonald said the Vice President's instruction has come a little too late. She said it is clear that from the inception, the government had no proper plan in place, resulting in the confusion at the registration and distribution sites.
What does simplifying means? That should have been thought out in the first instance. And if that was thought out in the first instance, then we would not have had senior citizens standing in long lines, pregnant women standing in long lines, fighting, people fainting. We would not have had that, and so that should have been the first thought.
MacDonald also took umbrage to the government's instruction that recipients must also be photographed upon uplifting their checks. She said that taking of photographs with persons holding up those checks is humiliating.
Now, citizens in receipt of their checks are being compelled to hold their checks in front of them to be photographed. There is absolutely no justification to further humiliate and belittle citizens in this way. Its only purpose is for the PPP to use the photographs of its own propaganda schemes during the campaign for the upcoming general and regional elections. How much more does the PPP want citizens to stoop?
The PNC Reform Executive is calling for an immediate end to the practice, which he has described as disgraceful. According to the stats provided by the government on Thursday, 545,000 checks have so far been processed, while approximately 200,000 Guyanese have received the grants already. A much larger number has registered. More news coming up in just a moment.
It all starts with one. Maybe it's one look. You know the one. Or one touch. Even one word. I can start with one step. or one promise? One thrill, one first time, one deep breath, one leap of faith. One day to remember, or one night to forget. One moment, so many stories that make up one crazy, average, everyday, fabulous life. We get one life, just one. Make your move. It all starts with one.
Your own home is so much more than just four walls, floors, and ceilings. It's a lifetime of great memories and stories. Come talk to us and start your journey home today.
Republic Bank. We're the one for you.
Mobil 1 is more than oil. It's many oils. It transforms at the molecular level. When cold, it's thicker than honey. When hot, it's thinner than water. Mobil 1 adapts and readapts to last longer. 16,000 kilometers between oil changes. That's your engine evolved.
Sol Guyana is the authorized distributor of Mobil lubricants.
Marvelous Entertainment and Hits and Jump Entertainment brings to you Masharama! Dancehall Concert, the official after-match event featuring the most energetic and trending dancehall stars on Kingston Beachfront, featuring Jamaican Springtown Badness natives. Dancehall Hot Topic on Money. And Guyana's very own Lola Dog.
Like talk to me, needs them.
Let's close off the match season with a bang on the beach with Boom FM, Father Moe, Stereosonic, and Fusion DJ. Masharama! Beach Party, Rama Ready on Sunday, February 23rd from 7 p.m. Super early bird tickets 4,000 and VIP 15,000. General admission 6,000. Brought to you by Banks Beer, Guinness, GT Beer, Diamond Reserve Rum, GD Events, Stovetop, Fireside Grill and Chill, Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sport. Please drink responsibly. No underage drinking. Masharama! Let's tell you now that Guyana has not been provided with any list of the final number of Guyanese to be deported from the U.S. for illegally residing in that country. And that's according to Vice President Bara Jagdeo. At his press conference yesterday, Mr. Jagdeo told reporters that regardless of the number of Guyanese to be deported, Guyana will accept its people with open arms.
We have made it clear that whatever the number is, once they are Guyanese, we'll welcome our people home. We have not gotten any final numbers from the U.S. as to how many people will be deported, but the people who are deported by the U.S. government, which is their decision in full, will be accepted home. These are our people. We have to accept them home.
As part of a strategy to clamp down on illegal migration, the U.S., through its Immigration and Border Control agencies, have been sweeping through a number of communities across the U.S. in search of undocumented immigrants. It has started to ship many of those illegal immigrants out and has been in talks with a number of countries, including in Latin America, to accept deportees other than their citizens as part of a third country program. While it has been reported that Guyana was being identified as a country that could possibly accept third country deportees, the vice president said Guyana has no such agreement in place.
In terms of how many from third party will come to Guyana, there is no agreement on anyone from third party coming to Guyana. There is no such agreement.
Just last week, President Irfan Ali told reporters that while there have been discussions on migration matters with the U.S., there has been no talk about having deportees from other countries being sent to these shores. Well, leader of the Alliance for Change, Nigel Hughes, today called on the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Foreign Relations and the Ministerial Task Force on the border to be convened immediately in wake of the attack on a Guyanese Defense Force patrol in the Guyanese River that left 6 Guyanese soldiers nursing gunshot wounds. It is suspected that the gunmen who attacked the GDF ranks on Monday are part of a criminal gang from neighboring Venezuela. 4 days after the bloody attack, Hughes, at a press conference, said he expected that by now, the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Foreign Relations would have been convened by the government to brief members of Parliament on the circumstances surrounding the incident. He said it is also unfortunate that to date, the Ministerial Task Force on the border has not briefed the parliamentary parties on what appeared to be a threat to Guyana's sovereignty, though it has been disguised as a singular incident.
These are matters of grave national importance on which there is no difference between the political parties, both in and out of Parliament, in terms of the protection of our sovereignty. And so we are calling today for the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Foreign Relations to be immediately convened, as well as the Ministerial Task Force on the border.
The Chief of Defense Staff of the Guyana Defense Force, Omar Khan, said the GDF has made moves to significantly adjust its posture on the western border and surrounding communities following the attack. He told news sources that the systems are being put in place to improve the Army's posture at border locations. But today, Mr. Hughes complained that the parliamentary parties, in particular the opposition, have not been briefed on the country's response to the incident.
Again, as national parliamentary parties, we thought that the Army ought to have briefed by now, it's 4 days, all the parliamentary parties and perhaps non-parliamentary parties on the developments that took place on Monday the 17th. We are completely unaware of that, and at the minimum, the leader of the opposition should have been notified as an important stakeholder in regard to this.
And he also expressed concern that a number of border communities are now exposed to the actions of the criminal elements and should therefore receive increased protection.
We have not heard of what measures are likely to be taken or have already been taken to protect those vulnerable communities. As you know, most of those communities have probably a single police station with one police officer who is perhaps a civilian, and quite a few of those communities do not have even a police station.
However, according to the Guyana Defense Force's Chief of Defense Staff, since the extraction of the 6 soldiers who were shot, the GDF has reinforced its presence along the Guyanese River and in other sections of the border with Venezuela. The government of Guyana has expressed its outrage over the incident and has informed its international partners.
Guyana, get ready for Gospel Fest 2025 Vintage Praise, 7 p.m. on Mesh Night at the National Exhibition Center, featuring Papa San. Jesus, my Savior, I love you. Backed by his full band, alongside Guyana's own Samuel Midas. Sherilyn Maloney.
Come on now and praise his name today.
And many more. Extra early bird tickets are $3,000. Early bird $3,500. Regular tickets $4,000. Children under 10 $2,000. VIP tickets $20,000. Tickets are on sale at locations across the country. Papa San will be in Guyana on Mesh Night for Gospel Fest 2025.
Your own home is so much more than just four walls, floors, and ceilings. It's a lifetime of great memories and stories. Come talk to us and start your journey home today.
Republic Bank, we're the one for you.
Ready to up your game? Ready to up your game? Win big with over 60 epic prizes. A brand new PS5, Nintendo Switch, iPhone 16 Pro Max, Apple smartwatch, and the hottest earbuds from Apple and Samsung. Plus, we are giving away thousands in phone credit and a whole year supply of Buster or Turbo Energy drink. Here's how. Buy any Buster or Turbo Energy drink, find the code starting with BB and enter online or on WhatsApp. Visit us on Facebook or Instagram at Turbo_Caribbean or Buster Guyana for all the details. Don't just play. Up your game with Buster and Turbo Energy.
The recently released Transparency International Corruption Perception Index report has been described by Vice President Bharat Jagdeo as a damp squib. In the report, which was released 2 weeks ago, the International Corruption Watchdog said although Guyana has created anti-corruption institutions and laws, transparency and law enforcement are very low. It also pointed to a state capture by economic and political elites, fostering misappropriation of resources, illicit enrichment, and environmental crime. At a press conference, Mr. Jagdeo said the Transparency International report being critical of Guyana is nothing new. He said he has questions about the Transparency Institute of Guyana.
I wonder if they sent up a report. I'm wondering now what report they sent up. And trust me, I would not put it past them to, because they're hostile to the PPP, to again send up a negative report, like how they whitewashed the whole APNU period based on what I just said in 2019. This is a group of people who are hostile to us.
The Vice President said the 2019 TIGI report, which showed Guyana making improvements under the former government, was based on false statements and declarations by the local transparency body. He said it could also be false and misleading statements about the PPP that were dispatched to the international body. While criticizing much of the report, the Vice President said he welcomes the section that points to Guyana being a significant improver in Latin America and the Caribbean with regards to fighting corruption. He said persons should view the report holistically before making pronouncements on the Guyana government.
Overall, I think the report is a damp script. I went into it in great detail to show you about these NGOs, the Red Thread type and the human rights bodies, these one-person organizations or fossils that are linked to party, or people like Gulsaran and the TIGI group that historically are against the PPP. They would never show all the improvements that are done on the PPP.
Mr. Jagdeo stated that the PPP has strengthened the anti-corruption systems through the Procurement Act, the Anti-Money Laundering Law, the banking legislation, and the New Companies Act, among others. He said his party is not sensitive to the issues raised, but believes that many of those issues were misplaced. Investment Committee member of the Natural Resource Fund, Dr. Terence Campbell, has filed court documents seeking a judicial review and challenging the Guyana government's management and transparency of the Natural Resource Fund. The application names the Attorney General of Guyana and the Senior Minister with responsibility for finance, Dr. Ashley Singh, as the respondents. Through his attorneys, Senior Counsel Roysdale Ford and Sinod Jairam, Mr. Campbell is challenging the transparency and accountability of major withdrawals from the fund, which have amounted to approximately 2.61 billion US dollars, or more than $500 billion Guyana dollars over the past 3 years. According to the application, withdrawals total more than 600 million US dollars in 2022, almost $1 billion US dollars in 2023, and reached 850 million US dollars from January to September of last year, with an additional 153.4 million US dollars withdrawn during the year's final quarter. The legal challenge seeks declarations that all withdrawals from the fund must be exclusively used to finance national development priorities, including a green economy initiative and essential projects directly related to ameliorating the effects of major natural disasters. According to the attorneys, Mr. Campbell was appointed to the Investment Committee in 2024 and has demonstrated through official government records that the withdrawals are being used to finance regular government operations. They contend that the national estimates for 2025 explicitly show current expenditure deficits of more than $46 million for 2024 and $75 million for 2025, confirming the Natural Resource Fund proceeds are being used to finance routine government operations instead of specific purposes mandated by Section 16.2 of the Natural Resource Fund Act. The application also highlights serious violations of the Santiago Principles, a statement said, which are explicitly incorporated into Guyanese law through Section 4 of the Natural Resource Fund Act. The internationally recognized principles establish mandatory standards for the governance and accountability of sovereign wealth funds. The government's current practices, the statement said, violate Principles 2, 4, 6, 17, and 24, which require strict accountability, transparency, and responsible investment strategies. In his application, Dr. Campbell has asked the court to order the Minister of Finance to provide a detailed breakdown of all expenditures from prior withdrawals within 30 days and establish proper procedures for documenting future withdrawals. The parents of teenage twin girls Martha and Michelle DeAndre, who died in that Mahdia Secondary School dorm fire, have filed a $900 million lawsuit against the state, after the court set aside an agreement that had been reached with the government for a $5 million settlement. The mother of the children, Valerie Carter, had complained to the court that the agreement was signed under undue pressure and influence from officials representing the state. The twin girls died along with 18 other children when a fire ripped through the heavily grilled facility. The parents have filed their lawsuit through attorney-at-law Hughes Anderson for $900 million, claiming the death of the children was due to negligence on the part of the state. In her filing, the mother told the court that the death of her children has left their family, community, and the country in immense pain. She noted that several government ministries and agencies failed in their execution of their duties, which ultimately led to the fire and the death of her children. She said the Ministries of Education, Home Affairs, the Guyana Fire Service, and the Ministry of Health failed to equip the Mahdia School dorm and its personnel with the necessary skills, experience, and expertise to manage emergencies, including fires. Further, she claimed that those agencies also failed to equip the school dorm with illuminating lights to direct occupants to escape routes in case of an emergency, and failed to keep the emergency exits clear and operational. She also claimed that the state agencies failed to abide by a recommendation made by the Guyana Fire Service back in 2022 to remove grills from the exit and windows of the school dorm. The government had offered $5 million for each child that perished in the fire to the families. While Ms. Carter had signed the agreement, she later filed a court action challenging it.
Guyana's economy is rapidly transforming, and we're all part of it. Guyoil is at the forefront of this development by providing reliable and efficient energy and supporting community development from the very core. 100% of Guyoil's profit goes back to building schools, roads, and other important infrastructure that connects our cities and towns, providing fuel to domestic, marine, industrial, and aerial transportation. Guyoil has now repositioned itself as a market leader in the petroleum industry, building a better future for all of us.
What was supposed to be a night of celebration turned into disaster after 4 friends who were all drunk left the bar in the city without a designated driver. Designate a driver. Don't drink and drive.
With your regional and international news tonight, I am Svetlana Marshall in the region. Jamaica Gleaner is reporting that while the police have not yet released the names of the 3 men killed in an alleged gun battle in Grange Hill, Westmoreland early Wednesday morning, residents have identified them and linked them to the notorious Ants Posse gang. The men were reportedly killed on Mint Road in an area of the community known as Crowder. Residents identified the 3 men as 20-year-old Jason Ghost Hall, 21-year-old Jarvis Shortman Smith, and a man known as Fireman, all of whom were reportedly wanted by the police in Jamaica. According to reports, the police were conducting an intelligence-driven operation early Wednesday morning in search of wanted men and illegal firearms. Around 6 a.m., they approached a house on Mint Road and were reportedly met with gunfire. A gun battle ensued. After the shooting subsided, the 3 men were reportedly found suffering from gunshot wounds. In recent years, Grange Hill has become a hotspot for gang violence in Westmoreland. The community is home to the King Valley Gang and the Ants Posse Gang, who are locked in a violent feud over turf and the spoils from criminal activities. Last September, a curfew was imposed on the community, and additional police sources were deployed following a surge in killings and threats, including the murder of a student near the entrance to Grange Hill High School. The school, along with Grange Hill Primary, was temporarily closed due to threats from gangsters. Tensions between the Trinidad and Tobago Airline Pilots Association, TTALPA, and the Caribbean Airlines Limited, CAL, have escalated, with the union making a bold public statement with a billboard erected on BWIA Boulevard near Piarco International Airport. TTALPA said the billboard, which was erected on Wednesday, reflects the pilots' growing frustration over unresolved salary issues and delayed collective bargaining negotiations. The union's industrial relations consultant, Timothy Bailey, said it is an innovative and creative way of expressing the pilots' dissatisfaction with the handling of their concerns. He explained that pilots are categorized as essential workers, which limits their ability to take certain industrial actions. This billboard, he added, is a means of raising public awareness about the situation. And finally tonight, international news. Russia could agree to using $300 billion of sovereign assets frozen in Europe for reconstruction in Ukraine, but will insist that part of the money is spent on the 1/5 of the country that Moscow's forces control. 3 sources told Reuters. Trump and the United States held their first face-to-face talks on ending the Ukraine war on February 18 in Saudi Arabia, and both U.S. President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin have said they hope to meet soon. After Putin sent troops in Ukraine in 2022, the United States and its allies prohibited transactions with Russia's central bank and finance ministry. Treasury, blocking $300 to $350 billion of sovereign Russian assets, mostly European, US and British government bonds held in a European securities depository. While discussions between Russia and the United States are at a very early stage, one idea being floated in Moscow is that Russia could propose using a large chunk of the frozen reserves for rebuilding Ukraine as part of a possible peace deal, according to 3 sources with knowledge of the matter. And that's your News Source Evening Bulletin for tonight. I'm Svetlana Marshall, wishing you a pleasant weekend.